What is up, my brothers and sisters? I was thinking about it, and well, I've kind of thought about it for some time, and just through like observation and the thumbing through books and teaching myself of war and watching documentaries on TV, looking up YouTube videos, all the reading that I've done, through my years of reading when I was younger until now. So over time, what I've obtained as far as war goes, like up until World War II, so pretty much like the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Iraq War, this war, the Ukraine War, all of the wars fought after World War II seem to be pretty pointless. Like there's no reason for fighting these wars, especially when you have total dominance as far as weapons go, like compared to the other side. Um, as far as strategy goes in Vietnam, like the Vietnamese had a good strategy. As far as the Taliban go, as far as Iraq and Afghanistan, the Shiite and the Sunni, they had good strategy. Because, and then like the Ukraine war, I really don't know what to think about that. I've watched several videos, I've seen the warfare, and I can honestly say, like, when it comes to the Ukraine war, like drones, as far as drones go, have really changed the outcome of war. Drones are extremely more dangerous than tanks, jets, ships. Drones have become the new weapon of warfare. And it just sucks because drones, I mean, I guess it doesn't suck. Depends on which way you look at it. I mean, it sucks and it doesn't suck. Because as far as warfare goes, drones really have gotten the upper hand over any weapon. I'm talking tanks, jets, ships. Drones can go where ships, tanks, and jets can't. They can fly as where jets cannot. They can see as where soldiers cannot. So, like, they can be flying above your head and you wouldn't even know. And basically, a lot of videos are of drones kamikaze flying into tanks, destroying them before they even get to the front line. Um, Drones dropping bombs on top of soldiers, and like they don't even have a clue they're there. I mean, they're just so tiny and so quiet. If you fly at a certain height, it's like you can't see them, you can't hear them, and they're like watching you basically, right? You can fly the drone to the front lines as to where the enemy would not see, and you have eyes as to where every position is. So, as far as drones go, it's a pretty dangerous game. And it's kind of a scary thing because this is the future of war. But what I want to get at as far as war goes, all wars seem to be pretty pointless. There is no point in fighting a war. All these people keep saying that all these people started these fires and that they're using dew weapons and lasers. Well, if that's the case, and they really have these things, why don't they use them in the war? Where's all the footage of the lasers coming down, destroying tanks, killing all the frontline soldiers, right? Like, there's no need to drop bombs. There's no need to send tanks when you got freaking lasers, right? Like, why even send in the soldiers and all your tanks and blah, 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 right? Like, if you have complete, total, utter dominance as far as weaponry goes to just totally annihilate the enemy. And this can apply to any war or anything of that nature. Let's say Vietnam. Why didn't they just drop a bunch of napalm everywhere? Nuclear bombs. Like, why send a bunch of soldiers in and just have them all be killed and just waste a bunch of machine gun rounds and sniper rounds and poorly placed rounds? And, yeah, like, what's the point in that? What about the Afghanistan war? Like, why didn't you just send a bunch of Moabs, mother of all bombs, right? Napalm them, use some white phosphorus, goes through the caves. Like, what's the point in all that? Collateral damage? Can't be. I thought they were trying to kill all the populations, right? Like, what's the point in fighting a war when you have this? Let me give you a better example of what I'm trying to get at. Let's say America is the Europeans showing up to find America And the Indians are the enemy. All they have is like bow and arrows. They don't have like armor and like thunder sounding weapons, right? Like as far as the Native Americans go with their bow and arrows and spears and flint knives, like they had no chance against all these rifles, six shooters and you know what I'm saying? Like they had total upper dominance as far as weaponry goes, you know. And I'm not saying the enemies were like a weak enemy because the Native Americans were absolutely smart. They knew the land, they strategized. I mean, in all reality, the Native Americans should have had the upper hand, especially when you got those guns that only shoot like one bullet, right? And he's like, bang, and then he's like, hold on, and he's got to like take a knee, right? He's over there like, right? He's ripping the paper, putting the bullet in. He's over there, dunk, right? And he's putting the powder in there, and then he's got to pull out the stick. He's like, right? And he's over there like, dunk, 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 right? He's like, then he's got to pull the hammer back, right? He's all right, now I'm ready. So after he fired the first shot and missed, he's like, don't you move. You better stand still while I reload this gun that takes like 5 minutes, right? He's over there like, shh, dink, dunk, 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 right? He's like, shh. He's like, all right, now I'm ready to shoot you, right? You know what I mean? How can you ever win a war like this? I bet the Civil War took forever. You know, they were like, aim, fire, and they all shot, and then it was like, now they're all out of bullets, and everybody's like on their knee right over there, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Anyways, you know, so I don't know how much we should believe history and their numbers and their outcomes. So, you know, because when you think about it that way, the way I put it, it's kind of silly when you think about it. But anyways, and, you know, when it comes to Hawaii and all these other lands, people are like, they're doing land grabs, and they want to take the land from the people and they're buying it away from us. And I'm like, well, first of all, one has to ask themselves, what is the purpose of purchasing a desolate land? Right? A desolate land. For all I know, the damage there on some of these islands is irreversible. Some of the damage there, if you want Hawaii to look as beautiful as it did before, we're talking like, you know, these people want to buy Hawaii because now everybody's gone, dead or burnt off, right? And, you know, it's a desolate land. So even if they did buy it, it's going to take like, what, 20 years for all those plants to grow back, for all the natural habitat to restore itself, for all the animals to return, for all the bananas to grow back into trees that took like 20 years to grow, the plants that took like 20 years, the beautiful landscape that took like however long Hawaii's been there, right? Like why, what is the point in buying a desolate land? Even if, say, these people or the rich people, whoever wants to live there, did put their house there, that means you got to rebuild that house. You got to do the piping again. You got to do the electricity again. You got to, everything needs to be rebuilt. This could take 20 years or more. You know, when it came to Hurricane Katrina, it's just a hurricane, right? So we're just talking flooding and water. The houses became uninhabitable. See, look, there's those energy waves again. See them off the coast. When it came to Hurricane Katrina desolating Louisiana and all that, when my pops was still in the service, we went to Gulfport, Mississippi, because Mississippi was also devastated as well, you know, being next door and all. When we went there, there were still, this is maybe like 10 years ago. Hurricane Katrina happened in 2004. So 10 years ago, it was only what, like 2013? So almost 10 years after the fact, they were still tearing down buildings and rebuilding them. Okay? There were still signs on like apartment buildings that said uninhabitable, do not enter. 10 years later, from just a hurricane, water. That's it. Not fires, like, so all these places weren't burnt to the ground, right? All these trees weren't gone, all this, like, you know, all the power lines weren't gone, right? Like, think about it, man. Just saying, just saying.